Welcome to One Healthy World. I'm the weight loss champion, Chuck Carroll.
And I'm Dr. Gemma Newman, physician from the UK.
And Dr. Newman, it should come as no surprise that here in the United States, obesity is a massive problem. Get this, it costs the healthcare system close to $200 billion every single year. And that number is expected to climb and climb rapidly. In fact, 72% of adults here in the United States are either overweight or obese. And I can't expect that that's a problem that's just limited to where we are.
Yeah, definitely not. In fact, in England, where I practice, it's about 1 in 4 adults who have obesity and about 6 in 10 who are overweight. In fact, worldwide, obesity rates have tripled since 1975, which does rather beg the question, with all these diets and health foods on the market, clearly it's not just about willpower. Where are we going wrong?
That's such an important question. Where are we going wrong? And that is what we are going to learn here today. Our conversation on foods for weight loss begins with Dr. Hana Kahleova, who brings fasting into focus.
Thank you so much, Gemma and Chuck. I'm so happy to be here. Have you ever walked into a dark room? Now you don't see anything and you just somehow find the switch and finally you turn the switch on and there's light. Well, fasting is like that switch. It's a metabolic switch. When we eat a meal, we get all the nutrients and the body will burn carbohydrates as the main source of fuel. But when you're fasting, when you're not eating, your body needs to adjust. And it adjusts by starting to burn the fat and using the fat as the main source of fuel. It's been shown that fasting is a super cool tool for weight loss, but also for diabetes management, for the prevention and treatment of cardiovascular disease and other chronic diseases. Is there any specific time when we should eat our meals, when it's better than at any other time of the day? And the answer is yes. It's been shown consistently that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Eating breakfast helps you prevent diabetes, increases your metabolic flexibility, the ability of your body to switch between carbohydrates and fat as the main source of fuel. And it helps with blood sugar control for people with diabetes over the whole day. So eating breakfast and then a smaller lunch is a good strategy. In fact, we did a randomized clinical trial with people with type 2 diabetes. And for 12 weeks, they followed 2 meals a day, only breakfast and lunch. These were big meals. And for another 12 weeks, they were following 6 meals a day, 6 small meals during the day. And guess what happened? They lost more weight and they got more benefits from the 2 meals a day, the big breakfast and the big lunch. Now, can you skip dinner? Is it even doable? How do you do that? Well, maybe you can start with limiting your eating window. So let's say you start eating your meals at 7 a.m. and you also finish your meals at 7 p.m., which would be a 12-hour eating window. Now, the next step for extra benefits, you can narrow down the eating window and just push your dinner forward and start earlier. So let's say you have your dinner at 5 p.m. So if you still start your meals at 7 a.m. and start your meals at 5 p.m., that's a 10-hour eating window. And as a next step, if you still want to get more benefits and you also want to make the dinner the lightest meal of the day, this is important because research has shown that if you eat the same meal, more calories will be deposited in fat after the evening meal. So making dinner the lightest meal of the day is really important. Now, if the eating window of 10 hours is super easy and you're ready for the next step, then instead of having light dinner at 5 p.m., you just have an apple at 3 p.m. as a healthy snack, or that would replace or would be like a super early dinner or a light snack. And that would limit your eating window to 8 hours. And then one day you just skip the apple and let's say you eat your breakfast at 7 and your lunch at 1 and you're done for the day. Now, in the beginning, it may seem like, wow, I'll be so hungry in the evening. And you will for a few days in the beginning because you're used to eating dinner. But when you're consistent for 3 or 4 days, your body will adjust. You will be looking forward to breakfast. And so your breakfast may be larger and so will be your lunch. And you will feel much more refreshed. You will be amazed how much energy you will have. So I'd like you to give it a try. Intermittent fasting, this is how this approach is called, is the easiest way how to do fasting. Because there are many ways to do fasting. You can do 3 days a month or 1 day a week. But I mean, that's a longer period of time. So skipping just one meal, that's for starters, and you will completely love it how you will feel. So let me know how it goes, and back to our hosts.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kahleova, for that incredible information. I think it's fascinating to learn more about the role of fasting. And you know, what's really interesting is learning more about the after meal calorie burn as well. I mean, most people don't realize that in digesting your food, moving it and storing it, we actually burn some calories. In fact, about 10% of the calories we eat are actually used in digesting our food and taking in nutrients, which I think is really fascinating. But it is great to learn more about fasting in general. And it does kind of make sense because you know that you'll be taking in less calories overall if you're conscious about when you're eating. And it could also really have a beneficial effect on our gut health because, let's face it, our little gut bugs also have their own day-night rhythm as well. And of course, it's really easy to overconsume things like liquid calories or snacks during the day, especially if you're not really noticing when you're eating. So thank you, Dr. Kahleova, for your amazing insights. And now it's actually time to hear from someone who has done what many people consider to be one of the hardest challenges in life, not just to lose weight, but to actually keep it off. And fasting has been a big part of their smaller size. I'd love to introduce you to Brittany Jaroudi.
Thank you so much, Chuck and Gemma, for having me. I'm so excited to share my plant-based journey and how fasting has helped as well. So my plant-based journey started in the year of around 2015. I was a newlywed, but I already had some pretty significant health struggles at only the age of around 25. I was morbidly obese. I was about 70 pounds heavier than I am today. I had issues with high blood pressure, so much that my doctor had to put me on 2 different blood pressure medicines at 25. And I also had high cholesterol, where they were starting to talk about a statin with a total cholesterol of 242. So very concerning. And I was already going to the doctor more often than a 25-year-old would. And I also had an awful family history, which I'll get into in a minute. But what really opened my eyes was getting a test done through my husband's insurance. We were newlyweds, so we didn't have a lot of money. So we were trying to save anywhere we could. And we got a test taken, our blood test taken, and they checked for a C-reactive protein. And I had never heard of it before. And mine came back 16. And it had big, red, angry letters. And I looked at what the normal was, and it was under 3. So that was super concerning that it was quite high. And so I say that it all kind of lined up because, you know, I was talking about how concerned I was. I had such a strong family history of heart disease and cancer on both my mom and dad's side, and that it was really alarming. And we just happened to be on Easter break. I'm a teacher, and we watched the documentary Forks Over Knives, and it was like they were talking to me. T. Colin Campbell started talking about cancer. Dr. Esselstyn talked about heart disease, and I watched the producer, who was more than double my age, get all of his blood tests taken. All of his bad numbers were so much better than mine. I was so mad. But I watched him transform his health with a whole food plant-based diet and lifestyle and get everything into normal range. And so it really gave me a lot of hope. I decided right then and there that's what I was going to do. And I haven't looked back over 7 years later. It's really been the biggest blessing in my life. Through adopting that lifestyle, I lost 70 pounds. My blood pressure went down to 110/70 now, not on any medication. My cholesterol is around 123 total instead of 242. And I just feel amazing. That C-reactive protein came down to 0.5 from 16. And I didn't do anything besides change my lifestyle. One thing as I was progressing over that 70 pounds is towards the end, the weight loss goes a little slower. And something I implemented was intermittent fasting, which really was, I wasn't necessarily Googling what intermittent fasting was, but I kind of naturally started to do it. I decided to close my kitchen off at a certain time, and that really helped me from late night snacking, even on things that, I might, that are whole food plant-based and are healthy, but giving my digestion a break in the evening really helped me to lose the last little bit of weight. So I kind of closed my kitchen down around 7 every night. I was like, okay, now it's on to water or an herbal tea. And that really, really did help. And then once I started to feel really good, I started looking at intermittent fasting to going a little bit longer in the mornings. And being a teacher, sometimes life gets busy and you look at the clock and you realize, oh, I haven't ate yet. And so I just kind of naturally started to do it. And so if you've been struggling, you're on a whole food plant-based lifestyle, you're having trouble getting all the weight off at the end, try these tools because it really can be helpful. And for me, I found I was sleeping better. I really felt energized in the morning. And it just gave me that kind of easy way out from even just the mindless snacking that we do when we're watching a movie or, just kind of the end of the night. You're not really hungry, but you're still picking at things. So that would be my biggest tip. I also, once I've been whole food plant-based for a while, I found about the National Health Association, which has been promoting a whole food plant-based lifestyle and fasting since 1948. They're the oldest organization in our movement. And I was asked to be on their board. So I've got to work with those people that really have been doing this, like I said, the longest in our history. And they even do some longer term medical supervising fastings that you could do at True North if you're interested. So there's lots of different options, and your toolkit is massive for what you can do. Whole food plant-based, lifestyle, sleep, meditation. You can add in some intermittent fasting or even do a medical supervised longer fast. That really, it's endless with what you can do to achieve your health and also to keep this sustainable long term. So I've been doing this for over 7 years now, and I haven't gained the weight back. My numbers are still beautiful. I feel so much better now in my 30s than I did in my 20s. That, like I said, it's just a gift, and I just want to help anyone that needs help and share this message that you have lots of different options and you can find what works for you. So thank you guys so much for having me, and now back to our hosts.
Brittany Jaroudi, an amazing story, and congratulations on your latest addition to the world, a new bundle of joy. Congrats to the entire Jaroudi family. I can appreciate what Brittany was talking about in her story. People are so desperate to find help when it comes to weight loss. In fact, how many diets do you think people have tried during their lifetime? Well, in 2020, researchers wanted to know, so they took a poll, and they found that the average person will try an astounding 126 different diets during the course of their life. And sadly, 90% of people who lose the weight gain it all back. I can't tell you how many times that was the case for me. In fact, one time I was so successful on a diet, I had lost close to 100 pounds, but rapidly regained it as soon as I went off track. My friends became so concerned that they tried to organize an intervention for me. And that is the frustration of permanent weight loss. But you know what? We've learned a lot already through inspiration from Brittany and fasting from Dr. Kahleova. Now it's time to put everything into practice. Let's head into the kitchen with our culinary correspondent, Anne Christine.
Today, we're making fasting delicious. Hello and welcome back to Veggie Magnifique, your go-to for holistic wellness and a healthy vegan lifestyle. Today I'll be sharing a delicious meal plan for the 16-8 method of intermittent fasting, specifically planned for weight loss. So first off, it's very helpful to front load your calories, ideally eating more at breakfast or lunch and less at dinner. Because here's the thing, believe it or not, they've found that calories count less when eaten earlier in the day than later. It's kind of magical and kung fu-y. So hence why we're having a wham bam breakfast. So we're having this at 9 a.m. Now I want this to be wham bam, but I also want it to be easy enough to be able to make frequently. And nothing is easier than a fantastic heaping bowl of oatmeal. Oatmeal, you say? Yes. It's all about the presentation, guys. This is not your granny's oatmeal. Now you can of course easily personalize this to your liking, but here's an idea. How about some oatmeal topped with some super seeds, so flax and hemp seeds for example, maybe some cinnamon and vanilla for flavor, topped with a gorgeous fruit completo and some fruit. Next up, lunchtime, so we're having lunch at noon. And on the menu today is black bean tacos, baby. Now we're serving these black bean tacos with a yummy almond yogurt crema made with nutritional yeast and topped with some thinly sliced cabbage. To make our black beans flavor-tastic, we're adding in some cumin, maybe some taco seasonings, and some salsa to add some liquid as well as a little kick. Now, a word about nutritional yeast. 2 teaspoons of brewers, bakers, and nutritional yeast contains a type of fiber called beta-glucan, and trials have found it can facilitate weight loss, according to Dr. Greger, which is great news because it's delicious. Now it's 2 o'clock and tea time, or as I like to call it, matcha o'clock. So we're having a delicious matcha latte with some oat milk, or you can have any green tea you like. I like sencha, for example. Now, top tip here, green tea is excellent for weight loss, but you want to have it in between meals so that the green tea doesn't inhibit the iron absorption. It's 5 o'clock and dinner time. So yes, we're having an early dinner because we're intermittent fasting, guys. And we're also choosing to have a light dinner because, as you'll remember, we're front loading our calories in the beginning of the day. And we're also going to be using vinegar because incorporating vinegar into your meals has been shown to assist with weight loss. Cool beans. Speaking of beans, on the menu for dinner tonight is a Tuscan white bean salad. I'm going to be using some white beans and some cherry tomatoes, some red onion, Kalamata olives, baby spinach leaves, some fresh basil, and we're going to make a balsamic vinaigrette. Now for this vinaigrette, all you need is balsamic vinegar, Dijon mustard, and maple syrup. And we're done eating for the day. No midnight snacking, guys. So there you have it, a little scrumptious meal plan to help you lose weight fast.
Thank you, Anne Christine. Delicious as always. And talking a lot about fasting today, I'm reminded of a former NFL player here in the U.S., Dr. Newman, who went on a 30-day water fast. And this was a big, hulking individual who just for 30 days had nothing but water and went from this big old 300-pounder to a really svelte-looking individual. But I also kind of wonder, Dr. Newman, since we're talking about fasting and weight loss today, how much of this also has to do with what we eat as opposed to when we eat? So kind of a two-parter for you there.
Thanks, Chuck. You know, this is such an interesting topic. And thinking about that NFL player and the 30-day water fast, that is extreme. And I think, you know, there's no doubt that for the right person, periods of fasting can see some great health benefits, and they can certainly reduce your weight and improve your blood sugar control. But I personally do think that a 30-day water fast has a number of drawbacks as well. You know, it needs medical supervision because fasting for such long periods can induce blood pressure changes and dizziness and palpitations and abdominal pain and fatigue and muscle mass loss. And it could also potentially affect your immune system and your metabolism. And so What I would say is that really, although fasting is one of the tools that we can add to our toolbox, I think what we eat is really so much more important. We want to make sure we're having loads of these amazing plant-rich foods, vegetables, fruits, legumes, whole grains, nuts and seeds, rather than just focusing on when we eat them.
And I think that there probably is a large segment of the population who thinks that if they're fasting, well, during their eating window, they probably feel like they can eat whatever it is that they want. And they're binging on burgers and pizza and fries and things like that. What do you think the success of that person would be compared to somebody who is eating that plant-rich diet?
Oh, well, Chuck, it's easy to try and cut corners because we all feel very tempted, I think, often by high sugar, high salt, high fat foods. But sadly, when you're eating these kinds of foods, you're often less aware of how much of them you're actually eating. And so I think technically fasting could work insofar as you're eating less overall. But otherwise, if you're eating the same quantity of foods that you were before, be they fast foods or home cooked foods, then fasting just would not work for weight loss. And of course, not all health is about weight loss. There are so many amazing health benefits to a plant-rich diet that feed into many other health benefits for the rest of our lives as well.
Absolutely. The weight loss journey that I went on quickly became an overall health journey. And I love that that's what we're going to explore this entire season on One Healthy World, including on the next episode where we're going to be talking about Alzheimer's disease.
Yes, we'll be joined by Dr. Neil Bernard to share his family's own personal journey with Alzheimer's. And leading Alzheimer's expert Dr. Chidi Ngwaba will be here as well. I cannot wait for this one.
It's going to be a fantastic episode that's just going to reach lives around the world, and that is what we are setting out to do. But if today you feel like you've learned something about weight loss, you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to us here on the YouTube channel here for the Physicians Committee. But until next time, we will see you again on One Healthy World.